Hi, my name's Louise and I'm from Plus One Baby, and I'm talking about birth and labour and all things to do with pregnancy. If you like this kind of content, then please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to hear in your comments about your experiences, so please get involved. So today I'm going to talk to you about episiotomy. So episiotomy is when you give birth, have a vaginal birth, and they have to cut you during labour. So this is a really sort of scary thought to somebody that hasn't had labour yet or hasn't given birth, but I gave birth to my beautiful baby just over 3 weeks ago, and I ended up having an episiotomy, which is stitches or a cut. So are you wondering what did it feel like? What was the healing time? When did they decide to do it? All of those things. So I'm just going to talk you through what happened with me, and would love to hear about maybe what happened with you. So I think the first thing you're going to want to know is, how can you prevent episiotomy? So when I was pregnant, I read lots of stuff online about how to prevent it, and one of the things that they recommend, I think it's from about 35 weeks or something like that onwards, is that you start doing perineal massage, and that's where you massage the opening to the vagina with your fingers to really help it to, and also to prevent tearing. So that's one way that you can do it. I also heard that there is some sort of machine called the Episiotomy, which is also supposed to massage that area and kind of stretch it out so that you don't tear or you don't need stitches, but it's not something that I've used myself. So I actually did try perineal massage to help kind of stretch the area or massage it a bit so that I wouldn't tear or anything. But actually, when I went into labour, I was in labour for quite a few hours. So I was in active labour from about 10 in the morning until 1:47 when my lovely beautiful baby was born. But because it was so long and it was going on for ages, what happened was the doctors, they suddenly all came into the room and they said, we're going to have to help you out here. And that's when they decided to I had to go onto my back, and I had my legs up in the stirrups, so that still gave me a really good position, a really wide birth canal for the baby to pass through. And one of the reasons why I had to have an episiotomy, they told me, was because the umbilical cord was hooked over the baby's shoulder. So whilst I was pushing really, really hard, the cord kept on pushing the baby back up, a bit like a bungee cord. So whilst I was pushing really, really hard and the head kept on coming out, it just wasn't happening for me. And that's when the doctors decided that an episiotomy, a snip, just to open up and give more room for the baby to come out, is going to be the right option. So quite a lot of doctors came in the room, and like I said, they put me, I was lying on my back, but I had my legs right up in the stirrup, so I had a really, really wide birthing canal. They put some local anaesthetic on, and they did the snip. I can safely say that I did not feel a thing. If you've had an episiotomy, then please reassure people in the comments that you don't actually feel a thing. And I had the snip, and they said, come on, you can do this, one last push. So I pushed super hard, and the baby came out, and the baby came straight onto my chest with skin to skin contact, which is what they recommend. And the doctors, you know, I was preoccupied playing with my beautiful baby, and the doctors just got straight back to stitching you up. So when you have an episiotomy, they put dissolvable stitches in, and they stitched you up. And the doctors asked me, oh, can you feel anything? You know, they wanted to check whether they had enough local anaesthetic, and I could feel them sort of stitching me, but it wasn't pain, it was just I could feel them doing it. And they stitched me up, and then what the doctor did actually is they want to check that they haven't cut too far, or that they haven't affected any muscles around your anus. So they actually stick a finger into your bum, and they ask you to squeeze just to make sure that that's all working correctly. So you know, you're still under a bit of local, so you can't really feel anything, and by that point you've gone through labour, so you literally don't even care. But it's good to know that that all works properly. So they kind of they stitched you up, and you don't feel anything. Obviously the first day you're elated from the birth, you've got your baby with you, and it's really only a few hours later where you really start to feel a bit uncomfortable. So they give you they recommend plenty of ibuprofen, so you are given ibuprofen, and then they recommend sort of paracetamol or codeine. And for the next few days you are quite uncomfortable. So I'm 3 weeks in now, and I feel like I've healed absolutely perfectly. But for the first, say, 2 weeks after labour, it was pretty uncomfortable. It's very hard to find a comfortable way to sit, you know, and you're always sort of shifting from left to right, and it can be quite uncomfortable. And also there is quite a lot of swelling. So I'd say for the first week I felt very swollen, and I couldn't really sort of bear to look down there. And not only that, you are bleeding like a period from the birth anyway. So you've got both of those things to contend with. But I'd say after 2 weeks, I'd say after around 10 days, the swelling really started to come down, and I actually got a mirror and took a look, and I could see that when they did my episiotomy snip, they cut me towards the right butt cheek. So when you can actually see the cut where they've done it, and it's really started to heal nicely, all of the stitches. And actually I'd say after about 14-15 days, I felt so much better, very little discomfort. There is a little bit of tingly sensation down there every so often, but as I move into week 3, that's also easing off, and there isn't anything. Also the bleeding from post-birth has almost stopped to nothing. I'm still wearing pads because I still get some blood occasionally, but I'd say for the last sort of 3 days it's been absolutely minimal, and I'm really feeling my old self again, and it's really great. So the episiotomy, whilst it is really, really uncomfortable for the first couple of weeks, it's not so bad. So if you, because it does pass and you've got a beautiful baby to play with, so you know, don't worry too much about tearing or an episiotomy, because as somebody who's gone through it, I can assure you it's a couple of weeks of discomfort, but you know, pop some painkillers and you'll be feeling all right. So let me know if you had an episiotomy or you had a tear and how you handled it, and you know, whether it took 2 to 3 weeks healing time